Hi everybody, it's Walter Bernardis again, and today we're going to talk shark conservation. You know, I've seen it with the people that come here diving from all over the world. The number of people, just amongst divers, that are fearful of sharks, and those that are in love with sharks, the numbers are actually amazing. I would say 80% of divers still don't understand sharks, and 20% are fully in love with sharks and want to dive with them and conserve with them. The same goes for the conservation groups. We have the major conservation groups that, like Greenpeace, etc. They're slowly coming around at the moment, but it was all for conservation of dolphins and whales, and they didn't even mention sharks in their inception. And I think that's the problem with our conservation of sharks. They are not protected because, you know, there's that old saying that goes, we only protect what we love, we only love what we understand, we only understand what we're taught. And when it comes to sharks, we are just taught fear. We are taught this primal, bloody, gory, ripped to pieces kind of fear that you know, when divers come here, and you know, they a lot of them, like I say, 80% of them are actually very scared of getting in the water with sharks, even blacktips, never mind the apex predators like the tigers, the bull sharks, and the great whites. And once they heard the briefing, you know, they're even a bit more scared, because in the briefing we talk about a lot of things that they hadn't thought about, before getting here. But my greatest joy is seeing the change in those divers once they've had the dive, come out the water, and realize that a lot of their fears were unfounded. And if you do play according to the rule book, you do follow some kind of guidelines that we spell out very clearly in our briefing, then we can interact with these animals safely. And the fear that sharks have generated, and the media, and media include films like Jaws, etc., that have instilled in people, has resulted in the birth of organizations like the Natal Shark Sport. Now, the Natal Shark Sport, their motto is protection through eradication. In our modern day, how can any institution have a motto like that? Protection through eradication. If they kill all the sharks, there can't be any shark attacks. They go further as to say, to make it very clear to everybody, that they're in the game of diver protection, or bather protection, I should say, not shark protection. So, you know, they have the audacity to call themselves an eco-friendly institution that is looking after our interests. And here's our problem, that as long as a dead shark is worth more than a live shark, then the species is doomed. We've got to try and change that around to making the live shark worth much more than a dead shark. We're fighting a losing battle at the moment, because you see, when you look at a town like Scarborough or a city like Durban, those towns and cities are based around a dead shark. They have protected beaches where sharks are killed every day. They have protected beaches where dolphins, turtles, whales, you name it, anything that puts its head in those gill nets that the sharks board have got up and down our coastline dies. And the industry thrives on that. Their hotels, their restaurants, all their businesses are based around the dead shark. Now, we've got to try and change that, because we cannot keep decimating our population of sharks the way we are, and expect the ocean to survive somehow. We've got to think, what is our holiday costing our environment? What is the price to the environment of you going to swim in a protected beach? It's costing an enormous amount to our environment. And as you know, when we take the apex predator out of the equation in any environment, we will soon see the collapse of that ecosystem and the results that we're going to reap as a consequence of that. Now, the Natal Shark Sport has had a lot of pressure brought on them by organizations like Greenpeace, etc., that are all for the protection of whales, dolphins, and turtles, as I said. When they were killing hundreds of sharks, nobody said a word. But when it got known that there was bycatch, and that bycatch was whales, it was dolphins, it was whale sharks, it was turtles, then suddenly the Greenpeace people rallied behind the cry for something to be done about the shark nets. And what they did was they thought to themselves, well, how do we keep killing sharks and keep those conservationists quiet? And they came out with a brilliant system, and that system is called the drumline. The drumline doesn't target whales, doesn't target dolphins, doesn't target whale sharks, etc. Only targets sharks. They do catch some turtles on drumlines, unfortunately, as well, but the majority of the animals caught on the drumlines are sharks. The difference between the gill nets, which are the shark nets, and the drumlines is the one is a passive system and the other one is an active system. So they removed the passive system and introduced an active system. Now that active system is attracting sharks to that beach by having baited hooks on their backline. And a lot of the time a great white or a tiger or any of the apex predators could be swimming past, and one scenario would be they pick up the scent of the baited hook, turn around, go in and get caught. Two, completely harmless shark like a black tip or a dusky or a grey shark, one of those gets caught on the hook. Then that shark is fighting for its life, and the great white passing by then swims in, eats the harmless shark to humans, and ends up being caught and dying as well. The shark sport is responsible for up to 48 great white sharks being killed a year. I mean, how can any system sustain that? We pride ourselves in South Africa as being the first country to protect great whites, yet the Natal Shark Sport have a permit to kill as many great whites as they like. If 100 great whites get caught today and die, that's no problem. There aren't any great whites left. At the start, they realized when they protected the great white that there was an endangered species. And if you're catching up to 48 great whites a year since the inception, and the inception is in 1952, can you imagine how many great whites they've killed over all those years? The same goes with our tiger population. Our tiger population has been absolutely decimated by the Natal Shark Sport. They have killed thousands and thousands of tigers and bull sharks, which we call Zambesis here. To the extent where we were the capital of the tiger shark diving industry in the world. We started that whole industry, and today we've got to tell people that, sorry, to see a tiger, you're going to have to go here, you're going to have to go there, somewhere else in the world that still has tigers and have looked after that population, unlike we have. Furthermore, the Natal Shark Sport, are so clever in their indoctrination of our youth that they have dissections 3 times a week. They don't cut up the dolphins that they've driven into extinction, like the humpback dolphin up in our north coast. They don't cut open turtles. They don't cut open whale sharks. No, they just cut up sharks, and they indoctrinate the youth that they have coming out in busloads for these presentations into believing that these are dangerous animals, that you should only swim where the Natal Sharks Board has got their curtains of death, their drum lines that are killing everything in all our sharks in our waters, and those kids leave there believing in their minds that the Natal Sharks Board is an eco-friendly must in our society, and that they've beaten us to the punch again. They're indoctrinating our youth, and when we should be taking our youth out to see the glory and the beauty and the wonder of our natural environment out there, which includes sharks, which includes being able to interact with sharks, being able to do so safely, to change the whole perception, as I said in the beginning, to make people go away from fear by falling in love with these animals. Okay, so what's the answer? It's fine to criticize, just criticize and run down. The Sharks Board has served a function in our society whereby they've helped in the development of towns, businesses, bringing people down from the Transvaal and the interior and enjoying our beaches. They've been an instrument in being able to facilitate that. But at some point we've got to say, okay, you cannot just carry on killing these sharks and carrying on the way they do. There's got to be a better system, and for sure, people have come up with other ideas, and I know that the shark safe barrier is one of those ideas where it will be giving the same kind of protection to bathers, and at the same time creating a ecosystem that is friendly to divers, even by the actual poles and things that they've got in the water, and the algae and all of that's created and will form its own ecosystem. People could go and snorkel around those installations, and it could be an added attraction to those beaches. But for some reason, the Natal Sharks Board has resisted every attempt to try and get another system that will replace the Natal Sharks Board. I know they create a lot of employment for people. We don't want people to lose their jobs, but at the same time, we've got to try and adapt the system into a system that is not just a killing machine like it is at the moment. Not a system, not an institution where the motto is protection through eradication. That is so wrong, and must be changed at all costs.